Are you sick of copying and pasting code into ChatGPT? Have you wanted to try out Cursor, but haven't because you prefer JetBrains over VS Code? Have you been trying to stay up to date with the latest news in the AI revolution because you'd rather automate than be automated? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then this video is for you. I'm going to be going over the new JetBrains AI Assistant. I'm going to be exploring the main features. I'm going to be telling you guys what is good, what's still pure hype, and I'm also going to be giving a final overall score. It's going to be awesome. Let's go. We're in WebStorm. Before we get into how the AI assistant exactly works, I want to give you guys a little history lesson, a little ancient history lesson, and it's titled How Software Developers Used AI in Their Workflows Before It Was Integrated in Their IDE. Now, I know this might seem like it was a very long time ago. In fact, it was only a few months ago. It was months and months ago that this was still necessary. But I think it's important to understand the past in order to really understand where the future is going. Now, in this use effects statement here, what I'm doing is I'm handling a spacebar press for the component. So when the user clicks spacebar and they're in this component, it's going to start a recording on their browser. And when they click spacebar again, the recording is going to stop. Maybe I want to change the down key from spacebar to backspace or something else. So if I knew how to do that, of course I would do it without AI, but I don't. And so I unfortunately need to go consult the AI overlords. And in order to do that, I'm going to copy and paste the code into a language model of choice. I'm using Claude today because there's a pretty bad OpenAI outage, and there has been for the last few hours. And what I'm going to ask Claude to do is something like this. I'm going to tell it I have some React code here. Then I'm going to paste in the code, and then I'm going to give it my demands. And my demands in this case are make this use the backspace instead of spacebar. And it's going to output some code that will hopefully do exactly that. Thank you very much. And it looks like it got it perfectly. Let's copy that. And then I would go into WebStorm again, and I would just paste that guy, the output from Claude, and voila. This is kind of painful. I know it didn't seem that painful. We only had to go visit the browser one time. But if you're doing a lot of edits and your project is getting more and more complicated, this actually eats up a lot of time. And in this case, I was able to grab this isolated snippet of code, and that was enough for Claude to do what I needed it to do. But oftentimes, that's not enough context. And if we go to the top of the file, we'll notice that I have some imports here. And this video editor API, for instance, contains a lot of interfaces and functions that are used in the other files. And if I really want Claude to be able to help me with these interfaces and functions, I actually need to let it know what the definitions are for those interfaces and functions. And so what that means is I don't just have to copy and paste the code from this file, I also need to copy and paste the code from the other file, and that becomes a lot more tedious. Now let's try this again, except this time we're going to use the JetBrains AI Assistant. So what you want to do is select the code just like that, and then you're going to hit Alt/, and you're going to be asked to modify the selected code, or rather you can tell AI how to modify selected code. So these are where my demands will go this time. Use the backspace as the down key instead of spacebar. And we click enter, and it's going to call out to a language model, and I'll get into detail later about which one it's using. And as you can see here, it did the change and actually applied it to my file. So I don't even have to do any copying and pasting. It went and did that, and I can accept that with Alt Command Enter or discard with Escape. So we're going to do Command Enter to accept, and there we go. And we can see that that has been applied, and now my Git is detecting that there is a difference. You can also just generate freeform code. So if we click Command / here, we can just ask it to generate code, and we can say function that says hello. And it's going to know that I want a JavaScript function because the AI assistant is providing extra context. It doesn't just, this isn't exactly the same as if I went into Claude or ChatGPT and pasted, write me a function that says hello. There's extra context that it's telling the language models, this is a TypeScript project, the package manager is npm, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm going to discard this one because I don't want it. If you want to just have a regular chat, you can do that by opening up the chat window. And this is going to resemble ChatGPT or Claude, and you can really ask it anything. It doesn't really need to be tech related. So let's ask it, what is npm? I'm asking it what npm is, and it's probably going to write an essay or a novel or an epic poem about what NPM is. It's rather verbose. But regardless, we can see that here. And what's nice in this UI is it uses the same UI components as the rest of the IDE. And so if we look in this code block that it generated in the shell script, I can move around as if I was anywhere else in the IDE. All of the shortcuts work, so I can copy that easily. You can also inline this. So for instance, like let's say I wanted this code snippet to be pasted in where my cursor is here. You can click this button here, insert snippet a caret. That's helpful. You can also run the code. In this case, I don't know if I really want to run the code, but yeah, let's do it. So npm install run snippet. You'll see that it opens a terminal and we'll actually go and run the command. And the same would be true if it were JavaScript or other types of code. It would figure out how it needed to run that. I don't know that I recommend that, honestly. I think it's probably better to copy and paste yourself, but it's still nice that it's there. If we go down here, remember earlier I mentioned that sometimes you need to give it extra context. So if I was asking it to do something that required it to know what the raw video clip interface looked like, I would actually, in the olden days, I'd have to go and copy and paste all this stuff and tell Claude or ChatGPT that that's how those interfaces looked. With the AI assistant, there's this hashtag feature, and now I can use the hashtag to select the file that I want, and this will actually copy and paste the contents of the file into the chat. So I don't have to go and do that. I can just refer to the file like this, and it's going to handle all of the annoying setup on its own, which is very, very nice. You can also select a piece of code. So let's grab this, and you can hit Option Enter and go to AI Actions. And AI Actions, I think maybe should just be called prompts. But if we click, let's just try Explain Code. What that's going to do is grab your selection and paste it into a prompt where at the beginning of the prompt says explain the following TypeScript code. And then the AI assistant is going to go in and give you a response. Now, I don't really like this prompt. I don't think it's that useful in a lot of cases. But the power of the AI assistant is not really in the built-in prompts. It's in the fact that it's able to go back and forth to these APIs without you having to leave the UI. That's where it's really, really nice. And besides, you can always create your own prompt. So if we do this again, Alt-Enter, we go to the bottom, AI Actions, you'll notice that there's a way to add your prompts. And if we go in and click this, the settings are going to pop up. And you'll notice there's some built-in ones. We got commit message generation, unit tests, and you can customize these on the right. You look at these, the commit message generation is selected here, and the instructions include telling it no more than 50 characters for the title, blah, blah, blah. You can click this button here, create new prompts. And what's really nice is this selection thing. So I just click that twice, and this is a special variable. This will get resolved to whatever was selected in the editor. And this is how that worked earlier, where I selected the code and then hit AI Assistant and then hit the action. And so we can have it do something like roast this code and then be really mean. Let's see if it does this. Let's apply, okay, and then let's do that. So we'll have it roast the code. All right. Let's take a scalpel to this code. Naming nonsense, okay. And again, it's up to you if you think the AI response is any good or not. Very, very cool. Now I want to show you guys one last thing in PyCharm. So if we go here, I'm going to raise a really silly exception. And what we're going to do here is raise exception, LOL, it failed. And now I'm going to run the code. And perhaps you might have guessed, perhaps you can guess what's going to happen when I do this. Running the code, and it looks like we got an error. Let's pull that up here. And we're looking now at the console, and we can see, yes, we got an exception, LOL, it failed, but you'll notice over here we get this fancy explain with AI button, which is very, very nice. We click this here, and again, this is another one of those built-in prompts. What did it do? Please help me understand what the problem is and try to fix the code. It pasted the console output. You'll notice it also pasted the entire contents of this file. Not only does it know what the error is, it has a lot of the context. What LLMs are actually powering the AI assistant? JetBrains, according to their website, claims that they have Gemini, GPT-4o, GPT 3.5, GPT-4, and also a proprietary model that they're developing. Notable omissions include Anthropic's Claude and also the O1 and O1 mini models from OpenAI. Those would be very, very nice to include. I think one of the big downsides right now of the AI assistant is the lack of transparency in the model usage. If you noticed in each of those prompts I was sending, it didn't mention what model was powering the response. I'd like to be able to not only see that, but control it for every single prompt. That's something I would really like. Another downside that I see is some of the prompts that were built in, so explain code, generate commit message, they do offer some customization. When we were looking through the commit message, generate commit message prompts, we were able to tell it things like answer in German or something like that. But it's still not entirely clear to me exactly every single token that's getting sent to the LLMs. And for me, it's not really about privacy so much, but I just want to have that level of control. Anything you put into the context window of an LLM will affect its response. And I don't like to be able to not be in control of that if I really need to. And so that's definitely a downside. Another downside I'd say is it's a little slow. This isn't really necessarily JetBrains' fault. There is an AI server that's run by JetBrains that all of your requests are going to, and then they have to forward those to OpenAI or Google or wherever. So there's definitely going to be some latency. This will get better as models get faster, as GPUs continue to get better and better. But it is notable right now, it's not the fastest. And that's really just going to be true for any AI copilot in any domain right now. In terms of what I love how it's integrated in the IDE, works very, very well with the JetBrains UI. I feel right at home using it. It's integrated in a lot of different places. It's not too in your face. It's very easy to disable. And I don't feel like it's overwhelming in the IDE. It definitely feels like they got that part right. In terms of price, I also think this is a plus. It's $100 a year if you pay yearly right now, or $10 a month. That's at least for the personal usage. And yeah, it's not free, but to be honest, this is a pretty good feature, and $10 a month is really not that much if you think about it. So I think the price is definitely a huge selling point. In terms of how does it compare to Cursor, which of course is the hottest AI assistant on the market right now, probably the hottest. Notably, Cursor is based on VS Code. So for me, that right there is going to make it not very appealing. However, it seems like from what I've read online and from videos I've watched that Cursor is a little more advanced than the JetBrains AI Assistant, at least right now. I do like JetBrains a lot, and I trust them to continue to push the envelope with the AI Assistant. And I'm not really sure if Cursor is going to be able to continue to have so many better features than the JetBrains AI Assistant. Because again, as I was talking about earlier, the value in these tools is not really the underlying AI, which anyone can use, anyone can copy and paste into. It's the way that they plumb your code and your requests into the AI tools, and they do that in a seamless way. That's the value they're bringing, not necessarily that they're so smart. And I think, at least for my usages, I'm not looking for something that claims to be smart. I know how these AI models, the underlying models work, and I know what I want them to do. What I want is an easy way to communicate with them, and I think the AI assistant from JetBrains does a great job. In terms of a final rating, I give it a big thumbs up. I think it's great. You guys should definitely try it out. Some of the issues that are here, it's still very new, and I think they're going to be working on those, and I can only imagine it's going to continue to get better. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe.